Boa Hancock is one of the most pulverizing characters when it comes to power. I feel like everybody in the community has an idea of where she lands, with my audience saying that she's somewhere below King. But of course in the poll right after that, they say that she's stronger than Queen, which could definitely just be biased. In fact, when it comes to Boa, I see a lot of bias in favor of her because of her overpowered devil fruit ability. Hancock ate the Mero Mero no Mi, a paramecia type fruit that allows her to turn people into stone as long as they find her attractive or cute. And by cute, I mean the way you find cat videos cute. It's important for me to clarify that because a child also uses this power, but we'll get to that later. The two ways Boa can turn people to stone is by shooting her various projectiles or just physically attacking them, often resulting in a one-shot. Now a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, think that she can solo the whole verse as long as she lands an attack. This is half true. In chapter 1063, Law states that intense enough hockey can break through devil fruit abilities. We don't know the exact threshold for this skill, but it is a fact that you at least need hockey comparable to Law's in order to use it. So yes, Boa can theoretically one-shot King, Queen, Katakuri, and all those guys, but once we get to Kid, Zoro, Admirals, Yonko, she really can't do anything. Now that is just the first interpretation of her powers, because there is some evidence to say that they aren't affected by hockey, such as this magazine excerpt that says, "The target will be petrified regardless of willpower or strength." Blackbeard was also in fear of resisting Boa, even though he should be able to resist her abilities. So if you were to go with that explanation, Boa could one-tap any character in the series. But the real question is, can she react or move fast enough to use her powers? What are her actual physical stats? Now there are two different evaluations of where Boa scales, the bare minimum path and the maximum path. At the very lowest, Boa is post-time skip gear 2nd level since she was able to one-shot pacifistas like Luffy could. This means that she can body any pre-time skip villain that isn't Aokiji or something. However, that same Luffy was defeated by Dofi, and Boa has never shown anything on the level of gear 4th. That is just the bottom line, the lowest she can go. As for the highest though, Boa was easily able to one-shot half of Blackbeard's crew, with Teach himself implying that if he let her go, he will get hit too. This could imply that she has relative speed to Blackbeard, since she has to be fast enough to aim and tag him with her power. However, you could just say that Teach and Kobe were too close to Boa, so it wouldn't really matter how fast they were, which is what I think Oda was really going for. But if we were to keep going with this logic, it is stated that Boa's beauty rivals her strength. She's regarded as the most beautiful woman in the world, making her the strongest woman by default. It's not like any random character said this either, it came from a data book. Combined with the fact that she was one of the few warlords chosen by her strength, and Kobe stating that her power is beyond anything he imagined, Boa could be a top tier up there with some commanders. I think it's a stretch to say that she's up there with the true top tiers like Yonko or Admirals, but there's nothing really saying that she isn't. After all, the statement about her beauty rivaling her strength would include Yamato and Big Mom. The last relevant feat that I need to go over is Boa versus Sentomaru. In the war, Boa was implied to be beating Sentomaru up. It's only on one panel, and frankly this is a big reach, but Sentomaru was able to block and react to Kizaru's attacks. The only other character we've seen perform this is Marco, which is why I call this a stretch. To give Boa this achievement, we would have to assume that A, they were fighting equally in the first place, B, Sento equals his post-time skip self, and C, Marco and Sento's feats align. I could see the first 2 points being somewhat correct, but there really is no basis for Sento equaling Marco. The very last thing I need to cover is S-Snake. This isn't really relevant because we don't know if the warlords scale to their Seraphim or if it's the other way around. The Seraph also have no real feats. Their absolute best interpretation is being Tobi Roppo level because S-Shark blitzes Robin in heavy quotations, which would still make them as strong as Katakuri. I just felt the need to point that out. Even if we were to take this into consideration, you would also have to assume that the Seraph are all on the same level, and they don't do anything else besides getting beat up and attacking fodder, so we can't really scale them right now. Overall though, Boa, at worst, is a fodder warlord whose powers can be countered easily, and at best, she's a top tier character who can one-shot anyone in the series. It's still difficult to gauge who she wins and loses to, with the most accurate estimation putting her a step above Marco, who's on that king-queen level type shit. However, again, that's using a lot of assumptions. None of her scaling is really set in stone, pun intended, and any interpretation is valid, so feel free to scream at me in the comments.